on to.
That's some crazy stuff. I wanted
to
get your take on, Amazon is always in the news because they're always doing something. The I think of Long Island City, the fact that whole thing that happened. But Long Island City is thriving just because of the fact that Amazon said they were going to come. Totally thriving. So, along with that,
maybe people who didn't have Amazon money were like, hey, wait, what did we miss in Long Island City cleanings at Amazon?
We want to go here, and we want to be here. And they're not coming anymore. And it's just like you got other companies that have locked in. They're like, hey, we're staying. We didn't know about this place. But Amazon Go is, a lot of people feel a certain way because it's the introduction of the cashierless store, where you can walk in, you check in, you purchase your items, and you're out the door.
Wait,
by the time that you walk out, you actually don't deal with anyone in particular.
So you mean Amazon Go is robbing me of my experience with snotty cashiers? That's outrageous. I mean, I want someone slow and doesn't know how to pack a bag properly. I want to make sure that plastic or paper bag they give me will crush my eggs. Yeah, the whole thing of why automation is everywhere is because so many people are phoning it in, and everybody likes to complain about it. But at the end of the day, these jobs that are done by what looks to be elderly people, well, used to be elderly people, and what used to be teenagers, right, are being done by like college grad adults. So either college grad adults or like people who can't seem to get to the next level without this gig. So I think it's one of the gigs in automation that should fall away. I'm not big on automation because I think people need jobs, or you will get, a warped society where you'll get more violence and more walled cities for the super rich and their minions, but you'll get, less for us outside of those walled cities. But having said that, some things ought to be automated, like car washes. You don't see any dudes with towels drying it, you know what I mean? So
like the old school hand wash.
Yeah, remember? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, first automated car washes would scratch your car. Now they don't. So go to automated car wash. I see no reason why you don't. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, exactly. They got those weird ShamWow things that smack your car at centrifugal forces, right? No more brushes. So I don't see why that isn't akin to the people in these shops, these grocery stores, every place, Yeah, man.
It's tough.
And I don't have a good.
You know why it's tough? It's tough because you go into you used to know that when you do forecasting, you look at last year's numbers, you look at this year's numbers, and what numbers are projected for this year. So you look at history, and then you project what's going to be, and it depends. It doesn't really matter what store you go to nowadays. You see in your local Wikimart or whatever, you see 2 cashier lines open, and you see the automated line fully open, and there's like a billion people in there, and this is just a new way of thinking.
Yeah, every time I go shopping. Yeah, no, exactly. Whenever I go shopping, I always go to the self-checkout. Check myself out, bag it myself, and I'm on my way. I noticed that a lot of the people who don't do self-checkout are older than I am, right? And people my age and younger seem to, and it's this kind of thing. I think it's.
Should you get a discount?
Because I think you should. I'm bagging my own bags over here. I think you absolutely should get a discount. But you know what? Just like Boeing and their jet, I mean, they're not going to do the right thing by you. They should have gave you that warning bell when you come into a stall. Instead, you had to pay for it. So it's this kind of thing. They never give away anything for free. It should be less because I'm bagging my own bag, but they'll say on the other end of it, we're giving you the bags, and you'll be like, no, I'm not. I'm here with my recycling perpetual, that you bring to the. So it's always going to be some nonsense. Like people talk about. Here's a side note. People talk about universal salary. What's that? When everybody gets money, I forget what they call it. But
Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang.
But that's ridiculous. About. Yeah, first of all, this is the one thing where I believe that the conservatives are right. It promotes laziness. It really does that. I'm just going to give you a check to do nothing. But secondarily,
$1,000 a month.
$1,000. No, that one you can't live off that. No, but there's a thing about like giving people like this living wage thing, and it's more than that. It's to live on.
But does that address crime? Crime should drop, right?
Wait, give me this again.
I said, does that address crime levels, crime rate?
No, it won't, because what'll happen, shouldn't it? Yeah, but look, you can, and here's the thing about crime. If you want to talk about crime, you can jigger your society so maliciously that you can monetize crime, right? These people are not going to starve to death. They have to do something to eat. So they will sell drugs. They will commit robberies. They will commit crime. Whereas if you had a fair society, hold on. Whereas if you had a fair society, those people who are committing crimes would not be drug dealers and robbers, right? It's the idea that they're criminals because there's no opportunity in their environment to do anything. You know what I mean? So now I have to move drugs. I can't go to college. All these kind of messed up things begin to come into play. But again, like I said, if society was fair, who there's no jobs for some of these teenage kids. What are they supposed to do? Right? Not everybody has good home lives. Some people have to leave. I mean, we spoke about this the last time. Like this, everybody in hip hop is either a faux prostitute or a faux drug seller. This is all they're ever talking about, and it speaks to the economics in their environments. I mean, Eminem just sang about being dirt poor. I've heard that 1,000 times from white guys. Right? My dad loved country music in the 70s. I mean, I've heard a ton of country music songs, white guys singing about poverty. I totally get it, right? Few of them sang about moonshine delivering, but none of them sang about racism, right? So it's this kind of thing. But now they're just primarily singing about I'm tough and I sell drugs and my crew will shoot your crew and this is rap music. So, okay. But in those communities, if those guys, were rapping about middle-class stuff, like what's the white guy who shops, he says he shops at, he's from Seattle, he shops at youth clothing stores. What does he rap about? These are supposed to be middle-class lives, supposed to be the same America. So, crime is one of those things that I could talk about that the good guy writes the narrative on that.
I'm just saying it's interesting what Andrew Yang is saying. I'm not sure if it's economically viable because it's just like, hey, if I stay out of trouble, I'm going to get $12,000 a year.
Yeah, that's bullshit. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. No, you can't pay people to be good people.
It's a pod.
So what happens when he goes, hey, the government changed this plan and we're cutting it to $500 for you, and he goes, oh, I may have to pick up my Robin again, or well, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. Be a good person because you're a freaking good person. The government shouldn't have to pay you to be a good person. They threaten you with prison if you're a bad person. That's the way that works. Excuse me. But the thing I was like, look, if you make minimum wage $1,000 an hour, everybody will be balling for 6 months before milk is $700 a gallon. And then you're back on the same metric. That's my point. If everybody minimum wage was $50 an hour, milk would be $20 a gallon. They're just going to up the price. The problem here is what you need here is price controls on some of this stuff, right? Just like America needs less lawyers and more doctors. So what the American government should do is these law degrees are no longer going to be as lucrative as they were, right? You can't do all of this, and you can only charge this price. We need more doctors. Then when you get heavy on doctors, where you can get them into the middle of like the Ozarks or Idaho or Nebraska or Seattle or, Montana, then you look around and you go, oh, we need more lawyers. And then you know what I'm saying? We need more farmers. And America doesn't do that, right? I mean, our system doesn't advance. Everybody's perpetually talking about the Constitution like everybody's read it. But essentially what they do is they're perpetually threatening you with this and then doing none of that constitutional stuff. All right? So, I don't know. We just started off talking about crime.
Well, we initially started talking about automation.
Well, yeah.
But it's good because it kind of morphs and starts to grow tentacles and everything else like this.
Right.
Wanted your take on loan forgiveness for all?
Yes, I'm totally for it because, and I'll tell you why. If you have been alive in America for at least the last 40 years,
okay,
excuse me, I have taken a sip. For at least the last 40 years, you know that the tobacco company went to Congress and lied to us, right? It wasn't addictive, it was. You know that these corporations going to Congress, I'm not going to call it bribery, but donate to congressmen, which is legal, Citizens United, right, to get their way. You know that the American people, by 80%, want universal health care, fixed payer, right? You know all these things, you know this. So what stands in the way of these things that the American people want, right?
Our do-nothing Congress?
Yes, exactly. But not just them. At this point, the Congress remember, I want your listeners who haven't seen it to go watch the first 15 minutes of RoboCop. Because the crawl, like Star Wars, has an incredible crawl. It's not really a crawl, but it's kind of like this black and white white letters on a black background, and it tells you the year, and then it tells you that America is governed by 7 corporations. And I remember sitting in the theater reading that, and I was like, that's going to happen. And this is where we are. Now corporations, like, I don't want to say own politicians, but influence politicians so much and so hard, and the politicians keep themselves in power by gerrymandering and these weird, I mean, this is why I like Ocasio-Torres is her name, the New York Congresswoman, because she managed to slay a dragon. They did not see her coming, and I hope she doesn't slow down, right? But I know, like, if you looked into every single congressman, her included, she hasn't been there long enough to get as corrupt as the rest of these people are, who's been there for 30 years. I remember protesting tuition hikes in Queens College campus when I went there, and Jerry Nadler was the congressman there then. And now here he is all these years later. And I asked myself, what has he done for anybody? People are just, they lock themselves into these positions, and they tell you how they're fighting for you. And look at this guy. Look at that lady. Look at Nancy Pelosi. She's fighting against her caucus, the caucus who wants change, who were, mind you, all these people who've been around forever were here during the 60s, civil rights movement and flower power generation and all that stuff, where we talked about this last time on your show, where I said the hippies were right? They wanted environmental protections. They wanted fairness for gender equality. They wanted you to be able to love whoever you love. They wanted that racist racist and bigotry to go away. And then they just got pegged for those of them who fell into drugs, and that whole free love thing was just not well thought out at all. But other than that, like, they were right on some of the bigger issues. And so those people grew up in that era. So if anybody has shown you, and I'm talking about the liberals in particular, have shown you that they don't care about liberal principles, it's the ones who've been there for 40 years, right? Because they play by the same rules as the people who liberal voters would think are unfair, right? They get corporate money, like the Clintons. They get, they do private speeches. They only show up in your neighborhood when it's time for elections. So all these things, and you wonder why nothing ever changes, right? So every now and then you get, like, an anomaly like Ocasio-Cortez, who I hope, that some of her stuff is between you, me, and the wallpaper. I'm not for, but her energy I get. The idea that she is screaming for the people, but no one's screaming about. They're just calling her ridiculous. No one's going, that's a good idea, but we shouldn't do it that way. We should maybe try and do it this way, and maybe not 100% of it. Maybe we should try it 20%. They instantly discount it, so the place can still be ruled by these people who don't pay taxes, who are happily and perpetually eager to endorse wars, so that's part of it, right? That's a bit of what's going on here. So back to the topic, circling around now. I guess I'm like a plane, so I guess that's me dumping gas. So now here I am back on topic as I'm coming for a landing. So the idea that you have $3 billion, is it $3 billion or $3 trillion in student loan forgiveness? I think it's how much is it?
I think it's $3 trillion.
Yeah, I think it's $3 trillion. Not only do I think you should forgive it, you should forgive most of it. And this is how I would do it. If you are one of these people because I got one more. Okay, no, I'm not even going to go there. That could be a problem. All right, so if you're one of these people who have college debt, right, and you went to college and they were like, yeah, you got to go to college to get a good job, to have a good life, to get all this stuff, and by the way, going to college now costs you a house, right? It's like $100,000 in some places. Some people, I had two friends who went to Brown University who became lawyers. They had $500,000 in debt, and well, they're not my friends anymore. This was 20 years ago, and they had a plan. Well, we're going to bust our hump, no kids for 10 years. We're going to become partners, and then we can finally breathe. I was like, and that was their plan, right? Brown lawyers. They had, God bless them. I wonder how it panned out, and I wish them well wherever they are. But the idea that that's going to happen to everybody is ridiculous. I think colleges sell you a bill of goods. I mean, look, some of these older schools have slave connections, right? And now they're dancing around the issues. Like, I understand Yale has a $3 billion endowment. I think a lot of these things have become business proxies, and they're what they put on their business card is we educate people, right? So, like, I think they need to, just like the Catholic Church has sort of lost its way, I think American education has sort of lost its way. It's become about getting people to take out loans and not really, feeding the fire for them to learn this stuff and then go out into the field and do these things, right? Because part of going out into the field and doing those things is part of the college education. I mean, it's not just going to college, getting an education, and then going to be unemployed in the world, right? So if I go and I want to be a journalist, then my next step is to get a journalism gig, right? And I'm not saying they should get to the job, but they should have someone from that world let you know how to go about entering into that field. Not get, you know what I'm saying? So if you want to be a banker, I mean, you're not going to start your own bank. You're going to go, maybe you'll start your own law firm, but you'll likely go work for a law firm or the government. Maybe you go and you become I don't understand all this debt by, and I think it's the debt is taken up under good intentions. We believe what you tell us, right? And I understand that economies shift, but the idea that it costs it. Maybe my problem is that it costs you too much. So maybe I wouldn't forgive all of your student debt, but if you owe $100,000 in student loans, I will forgive 80. Maybe your student loan shouldn't cost you a house. Maybe it should cost you a car. Then you know what I'm saying? So if a nice car is what, $35,000, maybe your 4 years should cost you that and that.
What car
alone.
are you getting for $35,000? What nice car are you getting for $35,000?
Well, how much does a nice car cost, right? My car only cost me, I'm sorry, $30,000, and I drive a Jeep.
Okay.
Right. So
I'm just thinking like these non-American cars.
Well, yeah, don't get me started on these Americans with foreign cars. I will lose my look. Listen, don't tell me about your love for the American economy and the American stuff and the American this, and you drop. Your listeners.
Let me pull this back. For a second.
Shop at home,
because
people.
I just want to talk about. Yeah, I just want to talk about. I think it was in 2012. Either 2011 or 2012, or it could have been 2013.
Okay.
But I know Obama was in office. He was the president back then. So I went to this convention.
Okay.
It was National Association of Black Journalists.
Right.
It was for print journalists, broadcast journalists, all the above.
Right. I'm familiar. Right.
Okay. So I had a
sports
great time.
journalists, the whole group. Right.
Yeah. But what I noticed is this was the one theme. You had all of these young journalists down there. They weren't just black. There were some Latino there also. But what I noticed was the jobs are drying up. The newspapers were shuttering. All of this, hey, you want to be a sports journalist. Yeah, I want to be your next best sports journalist. But you know what? You're battling with that ex-athlete who won 2 or 3 rings, whether it was, basketball, baseball, or football. Because, hey, if you look at any panel, you might have one journalist and 2 or 3 retired athletes and a coach.
Right. I give an example of what you're talking about. Back in the day when we were growing up, there was a health reporter, and she was a journalist. Nowadays, that health reporter is a doctor, right? So if you know health, you're not getting a journalism gig because they're all taken by doctors, right?
Yes. Yeah. You hit it right on the head, and it was kind of sad to see it because number one, it was me and one of my buddies who I went there with. We're like, yo, these jobs are drying up by the second. What are they telling these people? and you sit here.
It's the sell, man. It's the sell.
It is the sell. It is the sell. So I guess I feel a certain way because I was speaking with one of my friends. They were taking their son. They get ready to sign. Their son was picking a college for August/September for the fall, and it was. I think they went the SUNY route because they said, "Hey, it's a little bit cheaper."
Right. So in state schools, it's cheaper.
Yeah. So the son received $16,000 in scholarship, right?
Right.
But the school itself was about, I don't know, 20 or 30, or it was something crazy. Like the number just didn't make sense. Like the 16 that he received equaled up to, for the 4 years, and then it's $8,000 per year. But, hey, most of them want to live there, so dorm is another $10,000. So you're sitting here and you're looking at this $18,000 bill, and you're not even talking about books yet.
Right.
And I had to ask the parent, because I feel like I'm not a journalist, I'm a blogger. I've always said it. I'm a blogger, I'm a podcaster, I sit and I talk with all different types of people.
Wait, okay, I'm just going to side. Wait, why aren't bloggers journalists? I mean, if you can be a journalist on TV and a journalist in magazines and a journalist on the radio, why can't you be a journalist on the blog?
Because bloggers have their own websites, whereas journalists are dealing with, the print media standards. There's an editor. There's this. There's a whole different protocol and, levels for it to be checked.
Right, but some journalists don't have that. They're just lone journalists writing at their desktop, right? So are you saying they're misusing the word journalist?
No.
I happen to think you are, but
okay. I just say this. Let's put it this way. For my blog, I'm the editor. I'm the staff writer. I am. I perform all different aspects of it. Why? Because I don't have a big newspaper behind me.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Staff. Uh-huh.
Okay, let me ask you this. Seth MacFarlane, what is that guy? Is he a producer? Because he produces, but he also acts. Is he an actor? But he also writes. So is he a writer? Cool.
He's a creator. He's a content creator.
So he's a content creator on a TV show, but everyone else is an actor because they only act.
Yeah, they're just a talent. When he's covering wearing multiple hats, he's going into multiple different stacks. Whether he's doing, whether he's like a voice actor, or whether he's producing, he's directing, he's writing the script. Because end of the day, you look at his self-worth, all the publishing and stuff like that, and all those writers' credits, that goes back to him. So it's a lot less.
So in this scenario, the actors and actors around him who memorize their lines, hit their mark.
The talent.
Are the talent. But he who does not only that and all these other things, he's not the talent. He's the content creator.
He's the content creator. He's the No. He might even be the showrunner. You might even call him the showrunner.
Right. So if you research all this stuff and you write all this stuff and you edit all this stuff, I heard the term showrunner, by the way. We used to call it a producer, and Britons used to call it showrunners. Now we call it showrunners. It's like we're becoming more and more European every day, and it's making me flipping crazy. But that's a side joint. But my thing with you is if you write everything and you research everything, organize, and then you deliver it through your own voice, how are you not a journalist who's just have more control of your voice than the average journalist who, if I was your boss, go, hey, Ted, run out there and get me a story on Hillary Clinton's emails, and Bob, you roll and take the opposite angle and talk to me about Bernie Sanders. You know what I mean? But you both might be like, I would rather really have like the food beat because I'm a home chef, but I'll follow Hillary Clinton around. And the other guy's like, Bernie Sanders, really? I would rather follow Hillary Clinton around or be the war, you know what I mean? So at least you get you're a journalist who has more control of your voice, I'd say. But I see what you're saying. Let's
put it this way: Joe Rogan gets.
Is Joe Rogan a journalist?
No, but I'm saying like this.
Exactly.
So let's look at it this way.
Okay.
Joe Rogan.
Right.
If Joe Rogan airs on YouTube, he pushes out an episode, 3 million people watch it.
Right.
If Joe Rogan turned around and said to XYZ channel, hey, I want to air my shows on this network, guess what? He loses total control of that show.
Right. But he's not a journalist, right? I mean,
but no, he's not a journalist.
He's a host. What he is now is more of a host. He sits and he talks to people off the cuff about their lives, right? Whereas journalists investigate a story or opportunity and try and chase down the truth of it, and to varying degrees, right? So some are like embedded with people, some are undercover, right? Whereas some just kind of like grace the top of the issues because not everything is an in-depth kind of thing, right? But all in all, they all do the same thing. They try and get a grip on the topic, viewed from multiple angles, summarize that topic, and then deliver that topic to you so you can then ingest the information of that topic through their eyes, of course. But of that, and they all the best ones don't lead you with I'm about to say a premise, lead you with an opinion either way. You're supposed to make your own opinion about it, right? But some of them are written from the angle of save the environment. So, right, if I'm writing a save the environment piece and you read it and you don't care about the environment, and then you're moved to do something about the environment or get engaged, that's great. But if you're also reading and you're like, this is ridiculous, and I move you to anger, that's still good writing, right? Whereas not moving people at all. Even if you don't move someone at all, you've still done journalistic work. I mean, I think a lot of people are really getting, like, they're playing this game of, they're redefining things, right? So now a journalist is only someone on television, right? So only someone on television who someone else pays $3 million a year to influence you on what, about this topic, that war, this, celebrity, whereas you or I, with both our shows, go, hey, I'm a guy out here in the world, and this NAFTA is killing me, but, nobody wants to hear that. Or I'm a guy out here in the world, and the Justice Department is unfair. No one wants to hear that. The people who are connected want you to hear, essentially, approved stories. I mean, they love a scandal, right, but only an approved scandal. You're not getting a scandal about some of these people because they're too high up and too well connected. So correct. I think people like us need to squawk about it. It's one of the bedrocks of American. Like, if we were in Venezuela now, this would not be going down. No. And every day I think we get closer and closer to losing that. I don't, how dare you raise your kids to fly foreign flags here and talk about Nazi nonsense? Like, it can't fall off the rails here because we're extra special. It absolutely can. We're a diverse group of people, and we hold it together because we believe that we're a diverse group of people, and we believe in these principles, not so much in this God or this religion or this political philosophy, right? We believe that everybody has a say. You have a say. Everybody gets to, everybody gets to their turn at the mic, even the morons, and then the crowd gets to go, you're an idiot, sit down, right? We all get to go, he's the smartest of us. Maybe he should lead us in this district of Congress. All those things that were put there. Here's the magic about it. Even though the founders weren't all in, like with freedom for all and women voting and all this, even poor white guys who didn't own land couldn't vote, they put so much good stuff in that even these guys, they can't take it away without a real fight. I mean, can you imagine if Trump tomorrow said, I'm going to close down newspapers? I mean, these people, blacks, whites, Asians, will all be, because the American system says we all buy into these principles, not these politics. So, yeah, we're squawking over politics now, but every now and then when it needs to be heard, people go, Nixon, you can't break into places. You need to go. But at the same time, we're telling them other things that they ignore. It's like, we're kind of war weary and we're done. And we're kind of overbeaten with these debts placed upon us by these banks and these colleges and, trying to put money away for retirement and college. And if you have more than 3 kids, they just want to talk about reparations again, like they're going to solve it. It's just to get, Dems to the primaries, and they want to talk about, abortion, which is also set to get Dems to the primary. So this is what you get. I mean, it's more the same old tricks.
Hey, I do want to talk about. It's definitely, this episode is going to be called Off Topic.
Good.
But it's good because I want to get to Uber, the planned strike, and
which was today.
I said to you, no, it was yesterday. It was yesterday. Between between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. Eastern time. It was scheduled. They were, and it's just so funny because I want to run back. And I said to you, I had wanted to run back to you when I was in Orlando in March. So for the first time ever in my life, I took an Uber.
Nice.
I took an Uber.
Was it everything you'd hoped it'd be?
It was really, my life as I know it has changed. And I see why.
Just in my head, I just have the "When You Wish Upon a Star" music going in the background. Go ahead.
So many caddies are out of work because because why? They didn't flex with the time.
Yeah, and when they were failing, they were snotty about it. I could still not get a cab in New York when I could get an Uber, and that's why a lot of people, like the first group to adopt Uber around New York, were kind of middle-class black people. Because getting a cab to, in some of these places was getting sort of ridiculous. So, but I still haven't taken an Uber. And now Uber is so popular that people are trying to use it.
Have you taken one yet?
I have not taken an Uber. I have not taken an Uber.
But I have not taken one in New York yet. I scheduled it from the airport to the center that I was going to.
So explain to me how this works. You download the app. I guess you open an account or whatever, and then you open up a map and see who's driving around, and then you hit them and they know where you are.
You enable location services. Right. While you're installing the app, it's enabling location services.
Right.
You put in your information. You go.
Right.
You say, "Hey, I want to go here."
So it's sort of like a text message. You send out an all-out bulletin.
No, it's all in the GUI. It's all in the GUI.
It's all in the GUI.
It locates. Well, the screen. It's the screen of a map, so it's going to look like Google Maps, or it's going to look like Apple Maps, and your coordinates or where you are. You're going to punch in where you want to go.
Right.
And
whoever's available in that zone will call you up. Is that the way that works?
They don't even call you up. Through the app, you can text them. So that's why I was kind of, and I don't want to take this lightly. I don't want anyone to take this lightly. That's why I was wondering when the young lady who died, who hopped into the
wrong car,
which she thought was and I'm like, well, wait a minute, because I'm texting with the person, and he's like, hey, I got Honda Accord, it's burgundy, here's the plate. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I'm bald head, black. I'm wearing a black shirt, and I'm
really. So there's no picture. I figured there'd be like a picture.
Well, there's a picture for the rider. I mean, for the driver. I don't think I.
And I figured for a picture. If someone took me about picture, I figured they'd have a picture of the driver and a picture of the car and the plate as well, right?
Right. I had I didn't have a picture of the car. I had a picture of the driver. I knew what the plate was, and I knew the make and model and the year of the car. And it was just
all right. So you know who the driver is, the make and model, and the plate of his car. All right, that's good information.
You're chatting with them.
Right.
You're chatting with them, and it was just so funny. There's two rides. They both went, I would say, rather well, but what the one thing I did notice where I don't think Uber is meant to supplement your lifestyle and not to be the prime source.
I would agree with that.
If you're just doing it,
I can see leaving my car and then going to the club, having as much drink as I want, and then taking an Uber home without having to worry about driving. So that supplementing your life makes perfectly good sense to me. Right. So, or from the airport, no one can pick you up from the airport or drive you to the airport. So it makes sense.
Right. So I was, the two drivers I spoke with, totally, they're parts of the world and everything else like that. It is just great speaking with people. But the second gentleman, when I was going back to the airport, he said to me, yes, hey, I want to let you know, I've been driving Uber, and, and the conversation just totally went left because the gentleman was telling me, he said, Uber is evil. He used those words. Uber is evil. So, and it was funny because when they were having the strike this past, a couple of days ago, I heard those words also. Uber is evil.
Uber
They're not taking care of their driving. And I'm like, who's forcing you to do this? No one's forcing you to do this. It's like the person who says, I'm unhappy with my life. I'm unhappy with this, but you've been at the same gig for, 35 years.
Yeah.
And you've been married to your partner of 40 years. And, you got, I just don't get it. I just don't
Some
get it.
people like to complain.
Well, yeah, people do like to complain. It wasn't just Uber, it was Lyft in New York and a lot of cities. They went on strike for 2 hours, I guess, during
Here's my thing.
Rush hour. Okay.
Yeah. If you are not careful with whatever you build, you will an insurrection will occur. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're contractors. You don't have to sign up to, you know what I mean? And if this up here saying that they're entitled to stuff, they're not even entitled to the app, right?
Right.
So I don't understand why strike.
Well,
you know what I mean?
You're striking. It's symbolic because you're striking for 2 hours. You're striking during
but it's symbolic. Yeah, it's symbolic. But at the end of in symbolic. I can't. I gotta stop saying it. It's symbolic. I don't think it's one of those jobs where you can do that. You know what I mean?
I just think it's a job where
if you walk into the offices and apply for the job at Microsoft or Google, if you had a table and they wouldn't let you eat, if they wouldn't let you use the bathroom like between hours, if they made you work for all this time and only pay, that I get. Unionizing, but this is I don't know, man. I hate to say it, but on this one, I'm for the giant corporation. It seems ridiculous to me. I can't even put into words how ridiculous. Normally, I can find a metaphor in my head for what's going on here to put into pictures. This seems like, people download the app so you can show up and help them get to a place. This company sets up this thing where people can easily get around and another group of people can make easy side money, right? Somehow the people in the middle of that sandwich realize that they're sort of an integral part to this thing, and they can sort of, I think, bully the owner of the thing, the ride share, because the ride share needs drivers, but the drivers need passengers, right? And what will happen is the drivers can always be replaced. The app owners are always going to be the app owners, and people on the street will either use another app or another driver from your app. So I don't really see what do you want me as a rider to do versus what do you want the owners of the rideshare company to let you become employees, but you're not employees?
It's the whole thing where the gentleman that I was riding with that was taking me to the airport is just that. I'm trying to break down to him, I think this service is great, but you got to take it for what it's worth. You're a contractor.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So you can't I don't think you can look for health benefits and vacation
Yeah, you know what
days.
this is? This is the side chick. This is the side chick demanding stuff. That's what this is. This is the side chick demanding stuff. It doesn't make any sense.
But I felt a certain way. I really did because we're sitting there, and he was telling me that, yeah, here's my water bottle. I packed my lunch, my water bottle, and this is another jug. And I looked, and I kind of looked at him, and I'm saying to myself, is that the jug that he urinates in because he's so busy driving back and forth, people? And I'm like,
oh, my God.
I'm telling you, that's what it was.
And that's another thing about, like, if I'm going to hire you, I want to know your about to say, your sanitary, like, deal, your healthcare deal, your, like, is his hygiene all right? Like, is his car clean? Like, you know what I mean? And then you get some people just show up, the car is disgusting. Yeah, you can sit in the front because the back seat is full of, you know, it's
right.
Like some people take the job, some people take the transfer of money for services seriously, right? So if I was an Uber driver, I show up in a collared shirt because it's my deal. I still wear blue jeans, but like collared shirt, slacks, unless I'm assuming like you can hire somebody all day. If you need to hire me all day, then I'll wear a suit, right? Because this is the way that our group was raised. But I'm pretty sure now you just get people who go from their PlayStation with cookie crumbs on their shirt, you know, into their Uber in the clothes that they slept in, and then they torture you with that. They torture you with that horrible, like, you know, whatever music they're playing. What's that rage music where they always sound like they're screaming at you over loud screaming guitar, and you're like, ooh. And then you wonder why you gave them like a 1-star rating. Like, so these are the Uber drivers, right? So if I was a company, I'd go, okay, from here on out, anybody with like a 2 or less rating is out of here, right? Every 16 months, we're going to flush these ratings. And the people who have 3 and better, we'll hire. And you need to just keep the 3 and better for X amount of time. And we understand if it dips because, you know, their life changes, but you can get it back up to 3 and we'll keep you. But once you stay at a 2, like, what is it, 5-star rating system? Is it 5-star or 6-star? What am I remembering?
I think it's 5-star.
Right. So if it's 5-star, 2 would be low par, right? 3 and better, 3 to 5 is what you want. If you're 5, we'll give you bonuses because people obviously love you, and you know you make us look good with our Uber thing or Lyft thing or whichever one of the company has that. You know, that's good. I should open up a PR company. That's just good, but to just show up to be like, I want more money because I'm an Uber driver. Oh, I'm just kind of like, come on, man. I mean, and first of all, if you're going to do this, I don't want you calling the cops on me. Like that dude who called the cops on the woman who put her 9-year-old in and had him go to school, took the kid right around the corner and called the cops. I was like, man. So it's these kind of things that I'm just kind of like sketchy about the whole idea.
You know what's so strange about this? What's so strange is he referenced something about not picking up kids. And I didn't follow him until you had told me about this story because, you know, of course, it was like 60 days ago. And I was just like, what is this guy talking about? I'm like, bro, just drive me to the airport. I've got a tip for you. It's going to be off the books. We're good to go. And I'll never see you again.
Well, a parent was arrested. I want to say it was an Uber driver. It could have been a Lyft driver for putting her kid in a Uber to go to school. And, yeah, they arrested her.
I tell you.
Black lady. But then it happened a couple of days later to, like, another person, and then they were talking about it. No one got arrested the second time. But I'm like, ugh. So.
I could tell you this much. My daughter was 14.
Oh, you know what? I'm looking at it now. It was a Lyft, right? A mother arrested for letting child take a Lyft to school in New Orleans. Here you go. Her mother was a rapper.
How old was the kid?
The kid was 5.
Okay, now that's true. That's come on.
Well, no. Here's the thing. I don't have a problem with this because
a 5-year-old.
I
in a
remember
car service by himself. Come on.
I remember going to school myself when I was 5 years old. I remember walking several blocks down Brooklyn streets with my little backpack on, and I was fine. I remember taking the subway. How?
It's different now.
It's not different now. If anything, it's safer now because every kid has a cell phone, and everybody around that kid has a cell phone who can easily whip it out, take a picture, call the cops. God forbid he gets hit by a car. Everybody will be putting it on Facebook immediately, so you know who did it and when. So yeah, I think this is about people and their sick control of other people. That kid was going from his mother's hand to a driver, an Uber who she had registered with and called over. She knew who the driver was, his picture, like you just told me, his picture and his license plate and his car was on file. All he had to do was take that kid to the school where the teacher knew him, right? I don't see what the problem here is. I mean, look, I was taught in New York City, I was taught that for anything at any given moment, anybody can be arrested for anything. I got that phrasing wrong. Anybody can be arrested at any given moment for anything in the entire city. Why? Because there are so many stupid laws on the books. It allows this kind of overreach. So, I mean, okay, let me ask you this. You just said you don't want your 5-year-old walking to school. You also don't want your 5-year-old taking an Uber Lyft to school. What happens when a mother can't get her kid there, right? I mean, are you discounting the general safety of these ride shares? I don't think you're doing that. I think it's an emotional place that I've backed you into, right? So, I mean, granted, you'd want them to be a little older, and I would draw the line, and I'm just saying, but I would draw the line and going, yeah, I'm gonna put this car seat in the back with this 6-month-old, just take him to this address, and someone, I wouldn't be for that. But a 5-year-old knows he's going to school. He knows his name. He just kissed his mom goodbye. You have the driver's pictures, car number, and car plates. You know what I'm saying? And you can easily be like, yeah, did my son make it to school? When you get there, the people will be like, yeah, he's in class. In this modern era, I don't see that being a problem.
So you're telling me you would have put your son or daughter that was 5 years old in an Uber?
I don't like him anyway. I don't like him anyway. We just had a fight. I got no problem with it, man. And some people use the same Lyft drivers over and over again. So there's some of that. I just think a lot of this. I don't think she's going to be convicted of anything. I think that's overreach. I think people will happily take a chance on arresting somebody if they're of a certain station. And we in American have status classes too. Don't forget. Just like India.
I want to share this with you. I just want to be clear that hang on, I'm just rolling back my chair. But
no problem.
Hey, I just want to clear this that I used to have a car service. A friend of mine who passed away. He had a car service. He had a black town car.
Right.
I used to use him on many, many occasions.
Right.
I'm just saying it because I have had before my daughter was a teenager. I did have her in his car service, and he would take her to school. I did, but there was a connection. It wasn't just like, hey, here's Joe, Uber driver. Hey, I'm going to give you 5 stars. Take my kid. I mean, I just think everything nowadays is so freaking microwave and fast food, and that's the problem now, where everyone is second guessing everyone. Number one. Number two, everything that you do is going to be scrutinized.
Yeah,
and I just don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, but it's always been thus, as they say, right? It's always been no matter what you do, somebody's looking at you going, look at what that dress she wears. She know that skirt she wears. That girl is a hussy, right? And then that girl's looking at the other girl going, look at that woman. She's like, somebody who doesn't party or what. I'm sure there's a word for. What do we used to call? Like, she's cold was the word. Right? So it's always someone looking and judging because they essentially don't know each other. And then every now and then, on the occasion, they get pushed together in a car seat or a bus trip or at a party, or they bump each other in the bathroom and they either fight it out or they go, I was wrong about you, and then they become best girlfriends. Oh, girl, I hated you when I first met you, blah, blah, blah. Just like sometimes they take to each other and become fast friends and know each other for 50 years, right? So all these scenarios take place, but someone's always going to judge you because it's a natural thing of existing in the environment, of needing other people. I liked you until you did this X. Now I don't feel I can trust you, right? And we've had all this friendship. I never liked him, right? And we've known each other 30 years. Oh, I just met this guy, and we're fast friends, right? And this is always the frequency, the shift. You should think of it sort of like being in a crowded party, and you have to make it from one side of the room to the other, just kind of like, oh, hey, how you doing? Excuse me. Oh, what's up, man? I just don't know. Oh, there's hey, what's up? I don't want so-and-so to see me. And you're just kind of slowly making your way through this thing to get to where you're going. But, for the most part, everybody in the room is doing the same thing. You like a couple of people, you don't like a couple of people, but you generally don't know most of the people. And most of the people you can't hold in your head as liking or, so you have to have a system of dealing with them too. And in the modern era, you'll stumble across and people will be going like the same scenario. Now you're going to the men's room, you're saying, hey, excuse me, you're sliding through life in this crowded room that we're all in, and then you get to one thing and they go, oh yeah, we've changed this. We no longer have urine troughs. Remember those? They were all in every club in New York City in the 80s, where all guys would just sit there and pee into the urine trough in the bathroom. It was demeaning, right? Now we have urinals everywhere. Oh, great. So now all these years later, you're still in the place and things change, and they go, oh, hey, we got rid of the urinals now. Now everything's a booth, and now it's mixed gender, so ladies can come in too. So now everything's a closed door. You go, oh, more change, but still at the core dynamic of it is how you do things may shift. But that the relationship between you and the communication between you and the rest of the tribe, I'm always talking tribe to people because just because there's 7 billion of us, there's only a handful of ways we all get down together, despite the languages, right? Despite some quirks of culture and things like that. We generally all want, I won't say want the same thing, but we all generally move in the environment the same way. There's things we want to avoid. There's people we like. There's some people we want to be around for all sorts of reasons. There's people who make us feel comfortable in ourselves that we like,
So hypothetically, I can't let this go. So hypothetically, you've got a 5-year-old son, and the mother of your 5-year-old son decides to put your son in an Uber.
Yeah.
To get him to school. Yep. Are you okay with it? Are you okay with it still?
I am again totally okay with this. I don't see what the problem here is. Again, you have everybody's pertinent information, and unless I'm wrong, Uber doesn't just let anybody drive for them, right? I mean, you can't be like a serial baby rapist and be driving around in Uber, can you?
I would hope not. I would hope not.
Yeah, right? So I'm thinking no criminals, no.
I just think there's a threshold.
If they find out you're a racist, I'm assuming they fire you. I'm assuming they're trying to have a good business model, and they have PR people in a billion-dollar company who will go, yeah, no, we don't want any people who say that, do that, or hang out with that driving for us. We as Uber / or Lyft or whatever the case may be, do not. What's always the tag? Do not condone or endorse. We are for. Man, I used to have it memorized so well. Whenever I used to make a mistake in the bar, if I was supposed to drink with somebody, I had this kind of like lawyer spiel that I got from like TV. So down, but that's essentially it, right? And that essentially means they don't want any Klansmen driving for them. They don't want any violent ex-husbands beating up people driving for them. They don't want people with criminal records or driving for them. I'm assuming it's just to make ends meet, and you have to be an average citizen with a good driving record, which is essentially what you have. I mean, a good conversation is a plus, but it's not mandatory. But generally, what you're here for is to drive with a clean record and not be a criminal or at least a social piece of crap, someone who's perpetually, getting bad reviews, and they should get rid of that person. So yeah, if my ex-wife is like, okay, I'm sending Jean Tasia over, and I'm like, yeah, bring my sweet little Jean Tasia over and put it in the Uber, and when the Uber drives up, I'll be standing right outside because I'm waiting for her. That's the way adults get down in the modern world. I mean, people have to move forward. And now, again, I'll give you maybe 5 is too young, but I was one of those kids who did it. So maybe 5 is too young. But then what is the age? 7? Huh? 10?
I don't know. I will tell you this much. My daughter was taking Uber before me because
to take the kids. Well, let's remember, kids fly on planes and take Amtrak.
Yeah. You're right.
So I don't know.
But I'm just guessing there's more checks and balances in there. It's not like you could just dial them up
on an Amtrak?
A ride share.
A kid by himself on an Amtrak is just a kid on a crowd. Nobody's looking after that kid. Hopefully you'll think that the conductor would be, right? But,
right.
You don't know. I see people with children all the time. I don't know if those people are actually, I just assume 1,000% of the time that those people are responsible for those children. For all I know, he could be walking away with somebody's kid, right? I mean, you don't know these things. So this is why we put faith in the person next to us, that they're not a bad guy. Even you do this a lot, even though you and your listeners don't realize you're doing this. You sit on a bus or a boat or a plane next to somebody, and you assume that they're all right until they let you know that they're not. So you assume that they're okay until they take their shoes off on the plane, and you're like, "That's guys,
Listen, you gotta. I think I told you this. I got on the plane to go to Orlando, and the guy next to me, like, he was sitting there. It was like a high school team from like somewhere in Suffolk County or something like that. And he said to me, he leaned over to me. He was younger. He was like, a little bit older than my son, so like maybe 5 or 6 years older than my son. And he said to me, "Sir, I just want to let you know I forgot to put on my deodorant this morning," because he was smelling kind of ripe. And I was like, oh, my God.
It's going to be a long flight.
Yo, I said, this is going to be the longest 2-hour flight.
See, he right there. I mean, in that instant, in that moment.
He just let me know. He just let me know, hey, I just want to let you know that it's not you.
Right.
And I'm like, and I'm sitting there saying, because, immediately we start thinking, it's got to be a generational type of thing.
Right.
Because I'm just like, bro, I would have never had said, like, even if I didn't have my, deodorant on, I would not have said it to some stranger I didn't know.
Random thing.
He's like, hey, I just want to let you know that. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. It's I don't know, man. But I will tell you, it's always good to talk with you because there's always an epic rant.
Yeah.
And what you don't realize is I usually cut these episodes into pieces because there's so much content. And there's so many.
Talk.
I mean,
I totally understand that.
The subject matter just, and it's good. It's good that you could sit and you could talk about so many different topics because, some people, like you see, we were talking about the journalists. The sports journalists, they only talk about sports. And I can't stand that. It just totally blows my mind when someone says, I only talk about business. I only talk about finance. And I'm just like, no, you could talk about anything.
Be well-rounded. That's what's sexy.
As long as you do
you want somebody
your
who can cook
research
one dish well, or do you want somebody who can cook a bunch of dishes all right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It comes down to that.
I just think it's
the perfect lasagna.
It's always
every
amazing.
Night. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, lasagna again.
Exactly.
Or
it is perfect, but
it's lasagna again.
Exactly.
And that's the good thing is
exactly.
And it's funny because I talk sports more at work. I mean, we it's a bunch of geeks, so we're all talking tech all the time. But then we talk sports, and I noticed on the Sunday night show, I really, if it's not youth sports, like I won't have a sports-centric show. I might have a segment, which is 8 to 12 minutes, where I talk about something in sports, and that's about it. I just feel like if you're going to talk about sports and only sports, and you've got ESPN and NBC and CBS and Fox, dude.
Right. Well, look,
you can pull that up. Yeah, you can pull that up on TV.
Yeah, the days of Howard Cosell are over, right?
They're over.
Cosell had a giant repertoire of sports and sports stories and sports history.
Right.
Bob Costas will
yes.
tell you a sports story and then relate it to something totally not related to, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, he's
yes.
a learner. He's just
yes.
an interesting person. So
yes.
you take that because he has a curious mind. You can tell he has a curious mind. And he has a love of sports. And then he can share all this stuff that you never would have come across because he can put it into something that you're interested in, like sports. Yeah. So Bob Costas, what's the guy from Dan Patrick is another one who
yes.
really
yes.
can relate these great stories.
Yes.
Who's the other guy? So and Colin Cowherd is really good at that as well. So those when I listen to sports radio, I listen to those three people and only those three people because they spread their knowledge of things around in the stew that they're cooking you. You ordered sports stew. Here's the sports stew. We're talking football, baseball, basketball. But while we talk about that, let's give you this funny story about this, that, and the other thing, right? And I think whatever you're doing, you should do that. So if it's a beauty show, you should happen to get a little story about Napoleon in, right? If it's a cooking show, get a little sports in, a sports analogy, anything just to be, a little more varied. They keep saying that we as Americans aren't learned, and I find that to be insulting, and it's infuriating. Because, a lot of intelligent people who don't have college but who try. A lot of people, we just talked about college, who want to go to college and you layer them down with debt and then they can't get a gig and they have to drop out of college.
They don't have the means.
It doesn't mean that they're stupid and they don't want to. It just means
no.
Exactly. It just means they didn't exactly. You know what I'm saying? So it's just always this idea like everybody just didn't want to go and just wanted to hang out around the gas and sip. You know what the gas and sip is a reference to? Okay, the gas and sip is a reference to John. Oh my God, what's the teen heartthrob from the '80s? John Cusack.
John Stamos.
No, John
Stamos
Cusack's movie.
Oh,
no,
okay.
Cusack. John Cusack. Movie,
Cusack. Okay.
Where they're say anything. It's a say anything reference. They're behind this place called the Gas and Sip. It's supposed to be like the 7-Eleven, and he's lamenting that he can't get this girl, and his boys are trying to comfort him. And they're like, they're giving him all this girl advice. And he turns to them and he goes, if you guys know so much about women, how come you guys are behind the gas and sip on a Friday night? And they all look at each other and they go, by choice. Yeah, man, by choice. So it's this idea that whenever I need a reference for like a 7-Eleven, I always say the gas and sip and see who remembers that classic 80s movie. But yeah,
gotcha.
So it's that you want to be, speaking of trying to put weird things into conversations. Yeah.
No. It's just
a lot of stuff.
I think it's just it helps. It's helpful. It broadens your yes, because you want to put it in layman's terms. You want it in the terms that everyone can understand, versus it's like me using technical jargon all day, and I've got to go speak with the dean of admissions. They're looking at me like, speak English. I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
Right. Right.
You know,
like
I mean,
for the rest of us who don't speak nerd or don't speak slang or don't add in whatever your cool thing is when somebody's talking their jargon.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, you want to give us that for those who don't speak X, Y, or Z? Right, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. But, man, hey, it's, as always, hey, promote your show and your Twitter handle and ways to get in contact with you.
Yes, you can get in contact with me. I have a YouTube channel I'm trying to get up and running. Please come by and visit. It's called Armor Intergalactic, and you can catch me on Twitter at truearmor.com, or not truearmor.com, True Armor. I'm on Twitter under that handle. So, yeah, stop by. And,
so low profile. Are you a chef? Because I've been seeing some of the dishes.
I've started taking my cooking a lot more seriously. I've realized I must have bought a house for somebody with all the stuff that I order out. And then I realized that a lot of people don't cook, right? And I don't want to say I can cook because I'm around people who can burn it down. You know, burn it down doesn't sound good. I'm around people who can set it off, right? My sisters can set it off. Ed can cook. My brother Walt, my mom and my dad is a mean cook. And I sort of fell into this, like, you know, because I'm a bachelor, I fell into this fast food life. I didn't have to cook for a wife or kids. I cooked this. So now I'm like, let's expand these boundaries, see how good I am at this, since I always, because the only time I ever really cook is when I was, like, trying to impress a woman. I cook something serious. And then, you know, it would fall into beans and franks and all, you know, as relationships do. But now I want to try and cook all the stuff one good thing like a week. Like, I just made chicken stew yesterday. Somebody once told me, and I tell you all you cook this, if you use it twice and it's yours for life. He told me that about vocabulary. Use the word twice and it's yours for life. And he also told me that about cooking. He was like, cook a dish 3 times and it's yours. You'll always remember how to cook it, and you can likely be able to wing it later on if you don't have this or that. I was cooking it yesterday. I ran out of carrots. I had to run out and get carrots. And in running out and getting carrots, which took me 20 minutes, I missed a gaming session with these guys that I play with on Steam. And then I fell down this rabbit hole of, instead of playing a video game and calling up Chinese food, I found this rabbit hole of cooking stew. And now I'm going to have this stew. Well, yesterday I had it over linguine egg noodles, but tonight I'm having it over rice. And that's what I'll have when I game, and I won't order pizza or chicken or anything. And I'm back on my grind, back to trying to kind of not let it all get to you, trying not to give up hope, right? With great power comes great responsibility. So,
dude, as always, want to thank you, and we will connect very soon.
Absolutely. Catch me at True Armor on Twitter and Armor Intergalactic on YouTube. Thanks,
you got
Biz.
it. Peace.
I love
you.
Peace,
brother.
Peace.
Love you, man.